You've heard of Auto-Tune before, the well-renowned pitch correction plugin. Now they decided to jump in the reverb market with the Vocal Reverb by Auto-Tune. That is a follow-up to the Vocal Compressor and the Vocal EQ. So the question is this the ultimate vocal reverb? Let's check it out. Hey, thanks for being here and watching this video. I love reverb, especially when mixing vocals. There's lots of reverbs out there. So that's why at first I was like, another reverb, seriously? But you know what? I started to look at the features it has. There's some very cool stuff on that reverb, and you can tell the reverb was designed for vocals. You can use it on any other sources if you want to, but it is designed to work pretty well mixing a vocal. Now, the Auto-Tune Vocal Reverb has lots to offer. There's Auto EQ, which is a very nice feature. It also has a AI-based auto assist. That is good to establish a good starting point by using AI technology, which we're going to look at later in the video, so stick around for this one. Now, before we jump in, a quick question for you. What is your favorite vocal reverb plugin or hardware? You know, basically the vocal reverb you like the most when mixing vocals. Let me know in the comment section below. First of all, let's go into the settings, and there's appearance where you can give the plugin a dark tone or a light tone. I think by default it comes in the dark mode. I kind of like it light, especially when filming a video, so let's keep it this way. We have 3 reverb styles: plate, room, and hall. You know what? Let me get rid of that toque. Put on the headphones and listen to what we have with the plate.
I hear the rolling hills are calling, the faintest wind that whisper.
Okay, the room.
Gonna be soon, you'll be free.
The hall.
I'm waging war out on the pavement. Can take another day spent.
Now I'm balancing the amount of reverb straight with an effects channel track because I inserted the reverb on its own effects channel, and I send the signal of my vocal tracks straight to that reverb channel. Okay, so this is how I blend the dry signal with the reverb signal. But if you have the reverb on the same channel as your vocal, which is not something that I usually do, unless it's for a special effect or something, you can use the mix knob on the top right to blend the dry with the wet signal. In my case, it's locked to 100%, and I'm going to leave it this way. Now we have the pre-delay and the decay time, okay, which is basically how big you want the reverb to sound like. So pre-delay will delay the start of the reverb. Pretty good if you want to keep a vocal up front. You know, you want the initial attack of the vocal to stay dry, and then it's going to follow up with the reverb after a few milliseconds of delay. This way the attack of the vocal stays dry and up front. Because basically when you add a reverb to a signal, it will push the signal further away, and a dry signal is going to sound pretty much up front compared to a wet signal. So that's a good way to keep the vocal up front by also giving lots of depth to the vocal. So let's try it out.
I hear the rolling hills are calling, the faintest wind that whisper. Gonna be soon, you'll be free. I'm waging war out on the pavement.
I can go crazy with that decay time. Look at that. Cool, let's go and listen to the room style.
I hear the rolling hills are calling, the faintest wind that whisper.
Love that room sound. Very nice. Now, something that can happen with a reverb is the space it's going to take in a mix, and especially with vocals. So something that I like to do with a vocal reverb is to EQ the reverb and keep it transparent, you know. So sometimes I'm going to EQ the reverb itself, and some other times I'm just going to EQ the incoming signal, so the vocal before it hits the reverb. Now there's something nice here with vocal reverb is the auto EQ. Okay, so the auto EQ is basically going to analyze the pitch of the vocal, and it will reduce the same amount of frequency range out of the reverb tail. And the blend is going to sound way more natural and more transparent for the reverb anyways. And it does it in a very dynamic way, which keeps the whole thing pretty musical. So I kind of like that. Okay, so I'm gonna put it on, bring it to 100%, and we'll see how that goes.
I hear the rolling hills are calling, the faintest wind that whisper, gonna be soon, you'll be free.
Okay, so, you know, I don't know if you noticed the difference in tone when I activate Auto EQ. The EQ ends up to be a bit darker when Auto EQ is on at 100%. This is, you know, the way I like to test plugins. I just overdo things, so this way I can actually hear what it does. So let me just solo the reverb itself without any dry signal.
I hear the rolling hills are calling, the faintest wind that whisper, gonna be soon.
So, you know, without the auto EQ, I have like the full range of the reverb. It's pretty open, and this can be problematic when mixing vocals, especially when I mix vocals in a dance mix, you know, a mix that has several tracks and lots going on. So I want to keep my reverb pretty transparent when it comes to vocal reverb. So this is a good way to do it, you know, and I kind of like that effect. And you can balance that out by percentage and just blend it to your taste. Then we also have the damping, and that will basically add a roll-off on the top end of the reverb tail. Like it says, adjust the amount of high-frequency decay on the plate reverb. Now, if I select a room or a hall, I also have the diffusion of the room and the hall, which is basically the amount of density you want on the reverb. Mud range is also pretty nice, just to add a bit of modulation to the reverb tail.
I hear the rolling hills are calling,
Again, the reverb itself.
the faintest wind that whisper, gonna be soon, you'll be free.
That's interesting. If I blend it with the dry vocal,
I hear the rolling hills are calling,
that's pretty nice.
the faintest wind that whisper, gonna be soon, you'll be free.
Cool, so that can add a bit of color to the tail of the reverb. Now, I don't remember if I mentioned it, but the pre-delay can be synced to the tempo of your mix session or adjusted by milliseconds. Now, a cool feature we have on this reverb, which I don't find on lots of reverb, is the delay on the reverb, which is pretty cool. It's a very good way to add a bit more depth to the vocal reverb, basically. So let's have a listen.
I hear the rolling hills are calling, the faintest wind that whisper, gonna be soon, you'll be free.
So that can work pretty well just to extend a bit the time of the reverb, so you get the idea. Very cool way to be creative. Then at the bottom we have advanced, which is gonna show us a bunch of other parameters. So we have the pre-verb effects. Okay, so the processing for the incoming vocal signal before it hits the reverb. So we have pitch, which is quite interesting. I'm gonna activate it, and I'm gonna add the plus 12. Basically, this will add a doubled version of the vocals, high-pitched by 1 octave, and you can blend this up with the mix knob. Now, when the mix knob is at 100%, that means that only that pitched vocal is going through the reverb.
I hear the rolling hills are calling, the faintest wind that whisper, gonna be soon, you'll be free.
Oh,
I'm waging war out on the pavement.
nice.
Can take another day spent in this town where they know my name.
I don't even know if I saw that before on a reverb, but it's quite nice. I kind of like that. Okay, tube. We'll add some tube saturation, creating some harmonics, giving the reverb sound a bit more full, I would say. So let's try it.
I hear the rolling hills are calling, The faintest wind that whisper, gonna be soon, you'll be free.
That's nice. That's nice. It does add a bit more fullness to the reverb sound. I forgot to mention throat, which is basically a way to work the formant of the vocal sound. So it uses a throat modeling technology to modify the sound of the vocal, basically. Smooth will control the harshness of the incoming signal. Sibilance, for example, can be attenuated with smooth activated. Reverse, that's cool for special effect. It will basically reverse the incoming signal.
Can take another day spent in this time.
And you can time the reversed effect with the tempo of your session. So that's a nice, a creative tool. You know, it's not something that I would use on a regular basis, but for a special effect, that could be nice. Post-Verb effects. So we have a tone shaper to tone shape the outgoing sound of the reverb. Another very cool tool to keep the reverb transparent just by adding a low pass and high pass filter. And there's also a tilt that you can add to emphasize more on high or lower frequencies. To get more control on the dynamic range of the vocal tail, there's also a compressor that can be used. And you can just add a gate to control the end time of a reverb.
I hear the rolling hills are calling, the faintest wind that whisper, gonna be soon, you'll be free.
That can be cool in a case where you want to keep a fat, lushy type of reverb, but you don't want the reverb to last for too long, you know, so you can actually set up, adjust the gate to adjust the end time of the reverb. Okay, now the AI side of this plugin with Assist. This is a very nice feature, especially if reverb is a bit confusing for you and you're new to work with reverbs. It could be a good way to establish a good starting point. And even for someone who is more experimented with reverb, that can actually be a time saver. So let's try it out on another vocal. Okay, I'm going to click on Assist. Now it's going to take the time to analyze the vocal. And then I'll have the choice of a style. Let's keep it to vintage plate, okay? And between medium and small, keep it natural for the tone. Click on Next. I'm going to select Greedy. And then it's going to give me what it recommends, and I'm good to go. From this point on, I can start and adjust the parameters to my taste and make it fit the mix I'm working on. So let's try it out.
Trouvé par la rose et je fuis vers l'infiniment petit, le regard tourné vers lui, mon firmament il brille. Trouvé par la rose et je fuis vers l'infiniment petit, le regard tourné vers lui, vers l'infiniment petit, le regard tourné vers lui, mon firmament il brille d'un amour extravagant, d'une couleur sans autant, me poussant dans l'infini de cet instant.
There you go. So, sounds pretty good actually, you know, love it and love that workflow also. So that does the job pretty well. Now, the only thing that I would say for my taste anyways that I would maybe work on maybe a next version is the ping pong delay that doesn't sound as wide that I would love to. It sounds a bit different, a tiny bit different than the mono, but it's still more on the narrow side. I would actually, you know, bring that ping pong delay a bit more wide, not too wide, but just a bit more. And I love the low pass filter on on the delay, but I would also like to see a high-pass filter on top of that. So very nice reverb. It has everything you need to craft a good vocal reverb, and also some very cool and nice creative tools on top of that. So that is the Auto-Tune Vocal Reverb. Let me know what you think. Write all your comments and questions down below, and also your favorite vocal reverb. Until next time, take care and see you.